What?
So when we don't eat kidneys, we're remembering how the Kadmonim looked at a Mashu Chometz. We're remembering the pachad that they had from some shemetz of an Avera, a shaykhs to Avera, a shaykhs to Eiser. So with not eating kidneys, we're going with the derech of Hosseinu, and we're strengthening our Yiddishkeit not to let the influence of the street be mashpi on us. I was once thinking, we learn on Shavuos, we learn Megillat Ruth. In the end of Megillat Ruth, after everything that happened, finally she married Boaz, and she became pregnant, and she had a child. That itself, it was tragic that he married her and he lived with her only one day. Then he died. But in the meanwhile, she became pregnant, and in the meanwhile, a child was born. And that itself was a tremendous simcha. And that child's name was Obed. And Obed Hashem. And from him comes out all Shalshelis of Malchus based Obed and all Mashiach. When Pasuk says, after she had the child, Vatikach Naomi as Hayeled. And Naomi, which was her former mother-in-law, and their connection was a connection of a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law. Naomi took the Yeled that was born just now to Ruth. Vatishiseu b'cheiko. She held him in her lap. Vatilolo manas, and she raised him. And what's wrong with the mother? Ruth herself can't raise the child. But the pshat is, those gedolei olam, those kedoshei elyon, she thought to herself, better I should raise the child. I saw gedolei olam. I saw tzaddikim and kedoshei elyon. Ruth, with all her tzidkes, with all her greatness, with all her misametzesi, l'lechesita, but she didn't see gedolei olam, kedoshei elyon of the previous generation. I'll be machanachim if I'll raise this child, so then I'll have a connection with the Gedolei Olam of the previous generation. So she understood that, so she took the child, and not just took him and took care of him, but she sayu b'cheiko. She held him close to her, and vatilolo menes, and she raised the child. Oh, because the Torah and Mitzvahs, the halacha, he's going to know the halacha. And he's not going to go away from the psak halacha. But there's a certain mile in connecting with the previous generations. And Naomi saw this child, he needs that, this extra mile of chinuch. He's able to get from me, so I'm going to give it to him. So it was Vatishiseu b'cheika, Vatilolo manas. And from that came out the Avi Yishai, Avi David, and the whole Shalshelis of Malchus based David came out of that child. I have a good friend, his name is Avram Mordechai Freifeld, and he has a neighbor on the same floor and door next door, Mrs. Mandelkorn. Mrs. Mandelkorn, when she was a child of 6 or 7 years old, her father went to America for years before that. This is what years is this, in the 1910s? 1920s.
She was born maybe about 1920.
Okay, so in the 1920s. So her father was in America, and her mother wanted her, and finally he worked, and he was able to save up enough money to send them a ticket to come to America, to send the mother and the children. And the mother must have been a big tzaddik. And she went to the holy Ostrov to Rebbe Kadosh Elyon, that we have no musik in his Kedusha. Everything that's written for me in the Meir Einei Chachomim, it's all the can't gain. You can't go. They will alle bleiben from. They're all gonna stay from. However, they went to America, and she and her brothers and sisters all stayed from, which is not a Pashta thing in those days. But that's one story, but I say a different thing. I ate there many times, and Yeshua Meir, our producer, also ate there many times, and he saw Mrs. Mandelkorn. And I always feel it shakes me up. Just think of this. The eyes that saw those holy eyes of the Ostrovter Rebbe. We're in such a low generation. We're such a chashchus we're living in. It's a schus to see the eyes that saw that holy dumus of the Ostrovter Rebbe. Some slight connection that does create that makes us be able to connect to the previous generations. This union of connecting to the previous generations, that's called what I call tmimus and pshitus. This is what they did, this is what we're going to do. We're not going to be smarter than them. And all this talk is going into the shorish of the thing. The Isha of Kitnius itself, you could argue on. But the inyan behind it, the medalgi, the lugi that I was just talking about, that's a whole different madrega, and that you can't argue on. And I want to say, if somebody can come along and he starts questioning this Isha of Kitnius, just like when the Isha of Kitnius itself, we talked about the shorish, where the Isha comes from. I would say that the shorish of those that want to look for a way to be matir Kitnius also comes from a certain shorish. The shorish of it is gaive. Simple. It always, most things boil down to gaive. Who are you, Bechla? What do you understand? How can you break away from pshitas and tmimus of going in the ways of Avuseinu? And I was thinking that it could be that this union of Isha Kitnius, the word Kitnius, means ketanim, small. Us, in the Ikris and the Mashiach, it's ketanim, yes, small, low. They were worried about the lowest of the lowest generations of us, that they should find some way to connect to those Kadoshi Elyon of the previous generations, that their words were put into the Shulchan Aruch and to the Ramah. The writing of the Shulchan Aruch, says Rav Hutner wrote, it was a matan Torah to the Klal Yisrael. The giving of the Shulchan Aruch to the Klal Yisrael is a matan Torah. The Ramah in the Shulchan Aruch, in Siman, Tov Nun Gimel, the Ramah says, "V'aminik ba'ashkenaz lahachmir ve'in l'shanos." You shouldn't change the minig. If the minig is not Kitnius, you shouldn't change it. When that Chelik HaTorah was given, the Mechaber and the Ramah, and over there it said these are Kitnius. We have, when we keep that minig, we have the schus to connect to them, and because of connecting to them, it's v'zocher Hashem will also bring out their light, and it'll be v'zocher chasdei, and that's schus it'll be, maybe galiv neven. We should be zocher to b'karav mamash.
Wow. Thank you very much, Rabbi Caplan.